I never thought the people who'd put my daughter in danger would be my own parents. They wiped out the $150,000 I'd spent years saving for her heart surgery and called it helping the family. My mom actually laughed and thanked me for paying for my sister's wedding. I wasn't even invited. I just smiled, gave a little nod, and walked out without saying a word. That same afternoon, while Melissa was walking down the aisle in her dream dress, the authorities burst into the ballroom and took her groom away in handcuffs. Not long after, my phone lit up. It was my dad, sobbing like I'd never heard before. What he didn't know was that I'd set everything in motion long before anyone said, I do. My name's Olivia. I work in healthcare. Long shifts, early mornings, and a constant pressure to stay calm when everything around you is chaos. At home, it's just me and my daughter, Emma. She's 7, tiny for her age, with bright eyes and a giggle that sometimes turns into wheezing if she runs around too much. She was born with a heart condition. The kind doctors talk about in low, gentle voices, like the truth might break you if they said it too loud. Our mornings were quiet. The soft clink of cereal bowls. The hum of the fridge. Emma at the table, legs swinging, asking, Is it a good heart day today? Some days were. Some weren't. Time didn't pass for me in months or years. It moved in checkups, specialist visits, and calendar dates circled in red for surgery. I started saving when she was 2. Set up a separate account. Every bonus, every extra shift. Even the birthday money she got from relatives went straight into it. I skipped vacations. Bought secondhand furniture. Said no when people asked why I never splurged on myself. I always gave them the same answer. I'm saving my daughter's life. Most people understood. Some just got quiet and changed the subject. My parents lived across town. From the outside, we looked like any other family. Holiday dinners. Family photos. The usual. But under the surface, my mom, Margaret, liked to control things. She just wrapped it up in concern. My dad barely spoke up. Always the peacemaker. And my younger sister, Melissa? She floated through life like gravity didn't apply to her. New car. Flashy engagement ring. Everyone kept calling her wedding the event of the year. Then came the day we got the call. Emma's surgery was confirmed 6 weeks out. I felt something I hadn't in a long time, relief. And yeah, fear too. But mostly it was hope. That's when my mom made her suggestion. Put my name on the account, she said. Just in case something happens to you. It sounded reasonable. She was Emma's grandmother after all. Family. I remember hesitating, my finger hovering over the screen while Emma sat next to me, coloring. Her little tongue stuck out in concentration. Completely trusting. Completely safe. I told myself I was being paranoid. I told myself family meant trust. I added her to the account. 2 days later, Melissa texted a photo of her wedding venue. Crystal chandeliers. White roses everywhere. I didn't ask what it cost. I just stared at the picture too long. This weird pressure building in my chest, like my gut was warning me, and I just didn't want to believe it. Then Tuesday came. I opened the banking app like I always did. No alerts, no drama, just a number that made no sense. 0. I blinked. Refreshed the screen. Closed the app. Reopened it. Still 0. 5 years of saving. Gone. I sat there in shock, hands trembling. I convinced myself it had to be a glitch. Some kind of mistake. A hold. I called the bank from my car before heading into work. Gripping the steering wheel so tight my hands ached. After a long hold, a calm rep confirmed it. The money was withdrawn. Authorized by the joint account holder, my mother. I didn't cry. Didn't scream. I drove straight to my parents' place. Same porch I used to sit on as a kid. Same doorbell I rang every holiday. My mom opened the door like I dropped by for coffee. What happened to the money? I asked. She blinked once, then waved her hand like I was being dramatic. Oh, that? We needed it. I said your sister, she cut in. The wedding prices are crazy these days. You get it, right? I reminded her. About Emma. About the surgery. About the red circle on the calendar we'd been counting down to for years. She leaned against the doorway like we were just chatting. She'll be fine, she said. Kids bounce back. Then she smiled. This wedding only happens once. Something inside me cracked, quiet and slow, like the kind of damage you don't notice until it's already done. Then she had the nerve to thank me. Anyway, thank you. You really helped your sister out. That's when I asked about the wedding invitation. I already knew the answer, but I needed to hear it out loud. She didn't even fake an apology. It's a big day. Space is limited. And honestly, Olivia, you kind of bring the mood down with all the medical talk. Medical talk. That's what she called my daughter's heart condition. I turned and walked away without saying another word. I sat in my car for almost 30 minutes, staring at the steering wheel. I didn't cry. I didn't call anyone. I just went home and made lunch for Emma like it was any other afternoon. That night, I noticed something else. Melissa had blocked me on social media. No warning. No message. Just silence like I'd already been erased. 2 days later, Emma couldn't catch her breath coming up the stairs. I carried her the rest of the way, held her as she drifted off, sat there in the dark listening to her breathing, uneven, shallow, fragile. That was the moment everything clicked. This wasn't some misunderstanding. It wasn't forgetfulness. It was a decision. They chose a wedding over a child. My parents made that choice. Melissa accepted it like it was nothing. And I realized something I'd avoided my entire life. If I wanted to protect my daughter, I couldn't count on family. I had to count on the truth. That night, after Emma fell asleep, the house felt louder than usual. The heater kicked on. A car rolled by outside. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the calendar on the wall. The surgery date was still circled in red. But 6 weeks had become 4. Her doctor had moved it up after the last checkup. We shouldn't wait, he'd said in that careful, professional way. I nodded like always. But inside, I was already counting the hours. I didn't call my parents. Didn't text Melissa. I did the laundry. Packed Emma's lunch. Washed dishes. Normal things. Survival things. But my mind kept going back to my mom's smile. The way she said kids bounce back. Like it was a slogan. Like my daughter's life was a bump in the road, not a crisis. The next morning I sat in my car outside work and finally let myself think. Clearly, not emotionally. The money had been taken legally. My name was on that account, but so was hers. That meant no amount of yelling or crying would get it back. I needed real options. Options that didn't depend on guilt or decency. That's when I remembered Derek, Melissa's fiancé. He always gave me a weird feeling. Too polished. Too smooth. Always talking about numbers like he was trying to impress someone. One Thanksgiving years ago, he talked about shipments, delays, money stuck overseas. I didn't think much of it then. But now? It stood out. I reached out to someone I barely knew, Tom, one of Derek's business partners. I'd met him once. We arranged to meet at a small coffee shop downtown. No drama. Just 2 people sitting across from each other holding warm paper cups. He looked exhausted. On edge. Didn't smile. I can't keep pretending, he said quietly. Not after what they did to your kid. He didn't lay it all out at once. Just enough to give me a glimpse of the mess. Sketchy payments. Invoices that didn't match up. Money looping around in ways that didn't make sense. Then he slid a folder across the table. Plain. No name. Just papers, numbers, patterns. I'm not asking you to do anything illegal, he said. I just can't be part of it anymore. I took the folder home and waited for Emma to fall asleep. Once the house was quiet, I spread everything out on the table. I didn't panic. I didn't rush. I read, cross-checked, highlighted, researched the parts one didn't understand, flagged the parts that felt off. By the time the sun came up, I knew 2 things. First, Melissa's wedding wasn't being paid for out of love or generosity. The second thing I realized was this. The truth didn't just belong to me anymore. I got in touch with the proper authorities and laid everything out. Clear, direct, unemotional. No blame, no drama. Just the facts. They listened. Asked questions. Took copies of the documents. Then they left and the house fell quiet again. Upstairs, I heard Emma stir and call my name. I went to her, lifted her in my arms, and felt just how light she really was. I pressed my cheek to her hair and made a silent promise. Whatever happened next, I wouldn't turn away. Not again. The morning of the wedding came without noise or drama. No sirens, no alarms. Just sunlight sneaking through the blinds and the soft, steady sound of Emma breathing in the next room. I lay there for a minute, staring at the ceiling, listening to the house come to life. Today was supposed to be a celebration: white dresses, champagne glasses, fake smiles stretched for too many photos. But I stayed home. Emma wandered into the kitchen in her socks, dragging her blanket behind her. I made pancakes just the way she liked them. A little uneven, with chocolate chips pressed into the batter while it sizzled. She sat swinging her legs at the table, telling me about a dream she had, where her heart was a clock that finally figured out how to tick the right way. I listened. I smiled. All while my phone buzzed on the counter every few minutes, screen face down. By noon the buzzing stopped. That's when I knew the ceremony had started. Across town, guests were being seated. Programs were getting passed out. Music probably echoed through the hall. My mother, no doubt, was fussing over centerpieces and photo angles. Melissa would be glowing, nervous, totally convinced this was the best day of her life. I folded a load of laundry, helped Emma with a puzzle. We watched some cartoon neither of us was really following. I kept checking the time, but not out of nerves. It was more like a quiet sense of finality, like the wheels had already turned, and now we just had to let them spin. At 4:27 my phone rang. I didn't answer. It rang again. And again. I let it go to voicemail. Emma glanced up from her crayons. "Aren't you gonna answer that?" "In a minute," I told her. "Finish coloring." At 4:35 the landline rang. That one I picked up. "What did you do?" my mother screamed before I could even say hello. Her voice was cracked, frantic, like something inside her had finally snapped. "What did you do?" she kept repeating. In the background I heard yelling, chairs scraping, someone sobbing so loud it cut through everything. "I didn't do anything," I said, calm and steady. "I stayed home." "They stopped everything," she cried. "They just walked in, while people were watching. Cameras." Melissa was already at the altar. She struggled to say his name. "Derek, they put him in handcuffs," she whispered, like saying it softly might somehow undo it. I leaned against the counter. My heart wasn't pounding. I felt sharp, focused. "Who stopped it?" I asked. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. Another call came in. "Melissa." I let it ring. Then another, my father. That one I answered. "Olivia," he said, voice trembling. "Please tell me this isn't real. Tell me you had nothing to do with this." "I told the truth," I said. "That's all." He went silent. Then came a long rattled exhale. "They're saying his accounts are frozen," he said. "The wedding planner left. The guests are just standing around. Your mother's a wreck. This is a nightmare." I pictured the ballroom, the expensive flowers, the untouched cake, the quiet gasps turning into whispers, the whispers turning into questions. I imagined my mom's face, her control slipping right through her fingers. "You ruined your sister's wedding," my dad said, quieter now. I closed my eyes. "No," I told him. "Your choices did that. I just made them visible." He started to protest, but then my mother grabbed the phone back. "After everything we've done for you," she sobbed. "After raising you, you do this to us? To your own family." I thought of Emma gasping for air on the stairs. I thought of that red circle on the calendar, of the bank account that now reads zero. "You took money that was supposed to save your granddaughter's life," I said. "You laughed about it. You told me I was ruining the mood. Well, this is the mood you chose." She cried harder. "We were going to pay you back," she said, like that made any of it okay. "We were going to." Then her voice cracked completely. "They're seizing everything." Her next words came out in a whisper, barely holding together. "They said it's serious. They said this has been going on for years." "Yes," I said quietly. "That's what happens when the truth finally catches up." Suddenly Melissa's voice cut in, furious, breathless, and sharp. "Give me the phone." There was shuffling, then her voice came through, tight and angry. "I hope you're happy," she snapped. "You humiliated me in front of everyone. You destroyed my life." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. "You took money you knew wasn't yours," I said. "Money that was meant for your niece's surgery. You blocked me. You didn't even invite us. This didn't start today." She gave a bitter laugh. "Empty. Cold. You're always so dramatic," she said. "It was just money." Something in me went still. "No," I said. It was my daughter's heart. And you spent it on flowers. She didn't reply. In the background, I heard someone calling for guests to leave. Heels clicking in a hurry. Voices rising. A door slamming shut. I can't believe you'd go this far. My mother cried again. How could you be so cruel? I looked over at Emma, still coloring. Her brow furrowed in focus. Cruel. I said softly. Cruel as stealing from a sick child and calling it help. Then I hung up. The house fell quiet again. Completely still. I stood there, letting the silence settle. I didn't feel proud. I didn't feel sorry. I just felt done. An hour later, a message came in from a number I didn't recognize. It's done. They have enough. I deleted it without replying. That evening my father called again. His voice was low, calm, worn out. They're saying he could be charged, he said. Multiple counts. It could mean years. I know, I replied. And your mother? He asked, then paused. She keeps saying she never thought it would go this far. I stared out the window, watching the sun dip behind the rooftops. It already did, I said. You just weren't looking. He was quiet for a long time. What happens now? He finally asked. For you? I asked. Or for me? Or all of us? I thought about it. About family dinners that would never happen again. About the pictures on my parents' walls that would quietly disappear. About how blood stretches until it snaps. For me, I said. I take care of my daughter. Then I hung up before he could say anything else. That night, after Emma had gone to sleep, I sat alone on the couch. The same spot where I used to cry silently, terrified of what would happen if I spoke the truth out loud. My phone buzzed again. A voicemail from my mother. I didn't listen. I didn't need to. The confrontation hadn't happened at the wedding. Not in the yelling or the chaos. It had happened long before, on the day I chose not to look away. And there was no going back. The days after the wedding were oddly quiet. Like the air finally started to move again after a long, heavy storm. No more screaming phone calls. No more accusations. Just news trickling in from people who'd heard things, softened by distance. Derek's accounts were frozen. His entire business was under review. The venue demanded answers. Vendors wanted their money. The wedding photos? Never sent. The story people whispered about now wasn't some fairy tale. It was fallout. My father called once more. His voice was worn, almost hollow. He apologized without actually saying the words. My mother never called again. I heard she stayed in bed for days, telling anyone who'd listen that she was just trying to help her family. I didn't argue. Didn't explain. What mattered was Emma. Then a nurse from the hospital called. The surgery had been moved up again. Sooner this time. Urgent but necessary. The timing scared me at first. The weight of it. But then something happened that I didn't expect. People started reaching out. Old friends I hadn't spoken to in years. Coworkers. Even casual acquaintances. And they shared something. A fundraiser. Strangers started donating small amounts but with messages that stopped me in my tracks. Notes like, for Emma. And you're doing the right thing. Within a week we were close. Close enough that I could finally breathe again. The night before her surgery, Emma looked up at me and asked, "Is everything going to be okay?" I didn't sugarcoat it. I gave her the truth. "Yes," I said. "It is." And for the first time in what felt like forever, I actually believed it. I didn't walk away from this with some big win. I didn't feel victorious. But I did walk away with something more important. I lost the illusion that blood automatically means love. But I kept my daughter. I kept her future. And I found a kind of peace I didn't think was possible. I learned that protecting your child isn't betrayal. It's courage. And sometimes the boundaries that feel the hardest to draw are the very ones that end up saving lives. If this story hit close to home, you're not alone. Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more real stories about family betrayal and quiet justice, hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next.